Welcome to the program, Mehran and Ramin. Firstly, our condolences for the death of your father. It is really so sad. How are you coping several weeks on?
Right now, we're trying to just get our mother back. You know, after everything we've been through, this nightmarish several weeks, the fact that they barred our mother from leaving the country to come with us to Vancouver, Canada, was just the final nail in the coffin for us after going through this ordeal.
Well, can I just then start with your mother, the immediate case at hand right now, and then we'll go into what happened to your father. Mehran, what happened? You were trying to leave Iran after the death of your father, and they, at the last minute, wouldn't allow your mother on board the flight.
We decided that we have the opportunity to be able to grieve in peace, and we wanted to leave the country to feel just feel more relaxed and leave all the tension that was surrounding us. The last second, right before we were about to board the plane, all of a sudden someone came up and called my mother's name, and we immediately knew that something was wrong. We were surprised, we were shocked, and they told us you have 1 minute to decide whether to leave the country without your mom or for all of you to stay. And my mother told us that please just leave, I'll be okay. And I just don't want you guys to come back. I just want you guys to go and be safe. And it was a heartbreaking decision. I mean, it was such a difficult decision to make, but we thought that it's the right one.
We were actually just joking around about this. Seems like the ending to Argo, as if we were trying to get on the plane or just rush out of the country. And we didn't think that it would end up that way at all. We weren't expecting this to happen.
Why do you think your mother was so insistent that she stay and you leave?
She wanted us to be safe because, you know, we were being constantly threatened, harassed, and bothered the past several weeks. Since our father was arrested, our home was raided twice. You know, the house was probably bugged. You know, we're getting threats and messages from a lot of dangerous people. They would bump into me in the streets and tell me we're watching you. So we didn't feel comfortable in that environment. It's not like my brother and I are not afraid of anything. We were willing to speak up, because that's what we felt kept us safe and secure during these past several weeks. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, because we know of our father's innocence and that he was taken away for no reason, you know, and we were left in the dark the whole complete time. We weren't even told what he was accused of until, you know, his unfortunate and suspicious death in Evin prison.
And it is just awful, the story of how your mother found out that actually what had happened to your father. Describe that to us.
You know,
Oh, it's awful, I know. Do you want to take it, Mehran?
No, I can do it.
Okay.
It's just that, you know, they give her a phone call on Friday, February 9th, and tell her that we have some good news for you. And she's finally hoping that she's going to see her husband. And they take her and they interrogate her and grill her for 4 hours with, you know, ludicrous questions and accusations, and just threatening her and telling her that we'll put you in the same place that your husband is. And finally they tell her, you know, after they can't get anything out of her because she doesn't know anything. She's just a housewife who was happily married and had a wonderful family. Like, now you can go see your husband, you know, you can see his body. And what kind of cruel, you know, inhumane person would do such a thing to a mother, to a wife, you know, couldn't you put yourself in the position of that woman? Why would you instill such, you know, horrible, you know, feelings upon someone?
So here comes the really hard bit, even harder than what you're describing now, that they immediately said that your father, after all, an environmentalist, and we'll get into that in a second, committed suicide in prison. You don't believe that?
No.
Why not?
For someone who loved life, who loved his family, who just a few weeks prior to that was hiking in the mountains with his dogs and had such a hopeful and optimistic view of life, for someone to all of a sudden decide to take his own life is completely absurd and non-believable to us. We don't know under what conditions he was held or what ultimately led to his death or who committed this act, These are questions that are very difficult to answer.
He was the leader of the most important, the best known, the most transparent Iranian wildlife and nature NGO. So there was no reason for you to think that anything that he did was at all suspicious. We're going to get to some of what the prosecutors have said, but first I want to ask you, they showed you some surveillance video, right, to try to convince you, in fact, that he had committed suicide. What was on the surveillance video?
I was the only one member of the family, along with her 2 lawyers, who saw the video. I didn't want anybody else to watch it. God knows what kind of, psychological torture he had underwent to be in that sort of state of mind, from, being this completely kind, compassionate, loving person to all of a sudden this very lost person in this cell. It shows the room, and there's what they say is a toilet beside the room, the cell. And what the most suspicious thing about this whole situation is that my dad is pacing around the room. He takes off his shirt and he's thinking, and he just doesn't feel good. And then once he goes into the room, 8 hours later they want to give breakfast, and they see he's not there, and then they go and they bring his body out of the room, out of the bathroom. And that's like the first suspicious part of this whole event in this case, is because if he was such a high-profile prisoner, why wasn't he being monitored? Because I know, firsthand from my friends who, one of their fathers are in prison, who had tried to commit suicide twice. In a matter of seconds, they stopped him. Of other people's also stories, that if you talk to other people who have been prisoners in Evin, they will say the exact same thing. It's impossible, to do something suspicious in your room and without them torpedoing into the room and stopping it.
I think the video shows that, as you said, he took his shirt off and put it around his neck and then walked into this partitioned area, which apparently was the toilet area.
Yes.
Do you have any fears that shirt was, that he was thinking of doing that? Can you rule out suicide?
It's impossible to know for sure. But based on what we knew, it's easy to speculate, it's easy to come up with different theories, but based on the man we knew, the father we knew, the person he was, and the impact he had left on so many, several generations of students, of people who loved nature, who loved the wildlife, environmentalists. This is not the impression he gave to a single person in his lifetime.
They have got some line that environmentalists and scientists are somehow wrapped up in spying. And your father had set up a series of trap cameras that one sees on wildlife videos to explore and investigate a rare species, right? The Asiatic cheetah.
They say that you're normally afraid of what you don't understand. And these camera traps, are one of those cases. These are cameras with only up to 50 meters worth of range, and very cheap, discardable in case someone steals them. They're not that valuable, not very high in technology. And they said that, they'd use these to record military activity.
Were they anywhere close to military activities?
Not at all. It's impossible to fathom, in this day and age with Google satellite or with any kind of, technology, you can monitor or see such, activities. So the fact that they make such absurd and ridiculous claims means that they don't have anything,
It's so absurd, the claims, and they even they said our dad was responsible for the drought. There's these accusations every day, they become bigger and bigger and more ridiculous.
And there are about 7 other environmentalists, Iranians who are not dual nationals like your father, but who are in jail and have been swept up as well. They seem to be determined that this group of professionals are somehow legitimate targets. I wonder what you make of this. This is in the very conservative hardline Kayhan newspaper, written by the editor-in-chief, Hossein Shariat Madari, who said, "Why is the cheetah becoming such an important issue? Why are too many foreigners entering Iran for this? What are the real identities of US European experts coming to Iran? And why are they so keen to search the deserts all day and night?" It's a level of paranoia.
That is just unheard of.
When you read this, what did you think?
Well, we chose not to reply to every single accusation because we'd be losing the point or drawing further away from why my father was arrested in the first place. But people, their intelligence is being insulted when they hear such claims, you know. And from everyone we've spoke to, absolutely no one believes the things that they're being told.
You are Canadian Iranians, Iranian Canadians, and the Foreign Minister, Chrystia Freeland, has basically said that she was outraged that your mother had not been allowed to leave Iran, and she's called her in a show of support. And we know Amnesty International has called for an independent panel, an independent commission. But Canada has no direct diplomatic representation in Iran. Turkey represents Canada's interests. What do you expect, and who do you think can help you right now?
Well, our expectation is for the Canadian government, and specifically the Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau, to speak up, acknowledge this issue, and to open a serious investigation as to what happened, to make this request formally and officially, and not only from Canada, but to have international pressure on Iran to raise transparency towards this case, and to ensure that my mom will be home safely, and for this case to open up.
What do you hope that coming here and telling your story will achieve?
Our goal is to seek the truth, to raise awareness towards this issue. Unfortunately, we've never heard good stories come out of staying silent, and therefore we're not afraid. We chose to speak up, and we just want the truth about this man to be revealed. I want people at home, you know, to just close their eyes and realize what it's like to lose their father, for someone to lose their husband, and to go through this surreal, chaotic experience where they're not even able to grieve in peace, where their family is separated from each other. I just want people to realize what it's like to go through this. You know, we've tried really hard not to be angry, not to get emotional, not to make rash decisions. We only seek transparency, truth, and to share our father's legacy with the world.
Mehran and Ramin Sayed Emami, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Much. Thank you.